Good afternoon, everyone. So what if I told you that even though our film's classification, our country's film classification board for movies could be worse, it could be a lot better. See, while censorship can be way worse in other countries of the world, like South Korea or what have you, I don't think any of you should have to settle for seeing a watered-down version of a quality film just for it to get a PG-13 rating. And on top of that, you should also be able to have consumer advice from the MPAA themselves about the ratings they give films on their website, filmratings.com. While I certainly have no affiliation with the MPAA, I've been very fascinated by them ever since I was like 12 or 13 years old, and ever since then, I've watched my fair share of documentaries about the MPAA, and I've read my fair share of blog posts about the MPAA. Today, I will define to you the terms of my specific purpose statement, and I will go into why the addition of an R14 rating in between PG-13 and R is necessary, and I will also discuss why there should be consumer advice on filmratings.com. Here's what you need to know to understand my purpose statement. Please email the MPAA requesting them to implement an R14 rating for films and to have consumer advice for the ratings on their website, filmratings.com. Now I'll go into the terms. The MPAA is an acronym for the Motion Picture Association of America. They have these categories, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with. G for general audiences, PG for parental guidance suggested, PG-13 for parents strongly cautioned, R for restricted, and NC-17 for no one 17 and under admitted. Right now, they are a very vague and obsolete system. Moving on, to implement means to use a tool, utensil, or other piece of equipment, especially as used for a particular purpose, according to dictionary.reference.com. Consumer advice in this context means thorough description to anyone interested about why a film is placed in the category it is based on guidelines and context. So if the MPAA took this advice and they implemented an R14 in between PG-13 and R here, and they started having consumer advice on their website, filmratings.com, it would be better for everybody. So why should there be an R14 rating exactly? Well, it's an intermediate middle ground is needed between PG-13 and R. The first reason being is that there's too much of a gap. For example, right here you have The Hunger Games and Bully. The Hunger Games depicts children killing each other for sport in a fictional world, gets rated PG-13 for brutal child-on-child violence and death. And then you have Bully, teaches about the reality of the bullying epidemic in our nation's schools, gets rated R for language alone. I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that this is very silly. Because if we had something like an R14, then we wouldn't have this glaring issue, because both of these films fit the R14 very well. Also, the lack of a rating of R14 leads to unnecessary compromises of people's work. For example, you have the movie The King's Speech, where it was a very successful blockbuster about a man's speech impediment, and it was rated R solely due to one scene in which the main character says the sexual expletive several times in a therapeutic context. And they went back and censored it to make it PG-13 to appeal more to families, but the PG-13 censored version only made a small fraction of what the R-rated version made, because most people just saw it as being silly censorship. So if the MPAA created an R14 rating, it would help stop films from being sanitized just to fall under PG-13, and it would also help families discern what is and isn't suitable. If the MPAA added in the R14, it would be a service to everyone, including themselves. Third, why exactly should filmratings.com have consumer advice? Well, that's something that the British Board Film Classification and the United Kingdom has had ever since 2008 or 2009. The quote from their website's the main page on bbfc.co.uk. The BBFC publishes short but detailed information about all the films and videos we rate. This is called BBFC Insight. It gives parents a clear indication of how and why films have been rated and what issues the films contain. BBFC helps parents, carers, and other viewers make informed choices about what they watch. This is displayed under the title and running time for each film. Another reason is not only does the United Kingdom have that for films, but we also have something called the ESRB here in America. This stands for the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, and they're pretty much the equivalent of the MPAA. They just rate video games rather than movies. And on here they have specific in-depth consumer advice, and people really appreciate this and respect this from the MPAA, from the ESRB. So it only raises the question why our film rating system doesn't do this, especially because the MPAA frequently gets criticized for being vague. And if they did this, then they wouldn't get criticized for being vague so much. So yeah, while censorship could be a lot worse in other countries, the MPAA still needs a lot of improvement. There's no reason at all for there not to be an intermediate rating such as R14 in between PG-13 and R. And there's no reason for there not to be consumer advice on their website. So today I have provided the semantics of my purpose statement. I've given you my perspective about why the MPAA's lack of an R14 rating is a problem. I have provided you with insight about how the MPAA providing consumer advice would prove helpful for everyone. So there you have it. Let us better the Motion Picture Association of America, which will help the film industry, parents, and everyday consumers alike. Yes, sir.
What caused you to be so interested in the movie ratings? I know you talked about like when you were 12, but what made you want to do it?
Well, I have this thing called Asperger's syndrome, like this form of high-functioning autism, and I don't know, I guess part of me having Asperger's is just made me be interested in like kind of like abstract things like this. I don't know, it fascinates me because it fascinates me. Yes?
Why doesn't this R14 rating already exist in the US?
That's what I want to know. I mean, they have a rating called 14A in Canada, which does the exact same thing that R14 would do, and they have similar stuff in other places, like in Australia they have MA15 plus, and the list goes on. So I feel like there's just no excuse for there to just be PG-13 and R. Like, it's not enough. Yes?
You probably defined it, but what is MPA?
Motion Picture Association of America. Yes?
What are some of the things that will be rated between the teen and the, or like PG-13 and the R? like, would it be like vulgarities or nudity, like what would be considered for a like a 14 rating?
I'd say just everything that's on the upper end of what PG-13 currently allows should fall under the R14, and everything that's on the lower end of what rated R currently allows should fall under R14. Like good examples are Bully, The King's Speech, and The Hunger Games. I think all of those movies would fall under R14 perfectly. Yes?
And I probably missed it. How these levels, like PG-13 and R, how are they connected with age, with children's age? Is there any connection?
Well, PG-13, I'll bring back up the slide again. PG-13, some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. And then rated R, under 17, requires accompanying parent or adult guardian.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yes?
So I'm pretty sure there's a TV 14 rating. Would that be different than R14? Or is there a TV 14 rating?
There is a TV 14 rating. I think it'd be similar in a way, but there's like I don't know how similar it would be, because on primetime TV you have to they usually censor what's on TV 14 and TVMA shows because of like the FCC.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I need to remind folks to put their phones away. Their smartphones should not be out during class.